On November 2, 2014, Philadelphia police receive a call from a man named Marcus Lane, who says he saw a boy being forced into a car. Minutes later, police get their hands on security footage. The first thing they see is a car turning onto Coulter Street. 20 seconds later, a bus stops at the red light, but it's impossible to see if anyone got off until 16 seconds later, a dark shape emerges. The young boy is walking alone at night after missing the bus. But look closer. He has no idea that someone is following him. As he starts crossing the street, the man engages him in conversation. He turns around to face the man, but you can see that he's still backing up. Then they seem to shake hands, but the man doesn't let go. They disappear behind the street corner. On the ground, police find a pair of glasses, some broken glass, and a phone. They have no idea what happened beyond that corner until they discover another security camera. Detectives cue the footage just before the bus arrives. Again, they see the car that turned on Coulter Street. It slows down and parks just beside the camera. Then the bus comes into view. After it stops on Green Street, they expect to see the boy appear in the top in about 40 seconds. But just 16 seconds later, there's an ominous development. A dark figure emerges from the bottom of the screen. They see him crossing over to the north side. Detectives are convinced this is the same man. The boy is now visible too. The suspect hesitates before following him through the intersection. The other camera was ambiguous, but this view is not. And what happens next may be disturbing for some viewers. What you're watching is the boy being dragged down the sidewalk by the man. Although he's fighting to get away, the man completely overpowers him. When they approach the camera, the man forces him into the parked car. At the last minute, it appears he's trying to get away, but look closer. He does something that could save his life. When police review the footage, they see the boy is carrying his cell phone while the man forces him down the street. But seconds later, he drops it on the ground. With his cell phone, police can finally identify the kidnapped boy, 22-year-old nursing aide, Elijah Monroe. As detectives are rewatching the footage, they notice something else in the recording. At the top, there's another dark shape that appears to be walking around in the street. This is Cameron Bishop, the same man who called 911. He tells police he saw Elijah before the attack and says the boy already looked nervous. At the time, Cameron was walking on Green Street, headed to the convenience store, when he came up behind him. When I got behind him, he says, he just kept looking back. So I was like, okay, well, let me get on the other side of the street so he could feel a little bit safe. But just 1 minute later, he hears a scream. He was screaming at the top of his lungs saying, "Help! Help!" Cameron hurries back down Coulter Street before he sees Elijah getting shoved into a parked car. He runs over as fast as he can. The car was like kind of rocking, and the windows just exploded. It was a crazy sound, and I think he probably got shot. Cameron takes cover, convinced that what he heard was a gunshot. Then the car drives off. Cameron can't help but think he could have done more to save him. But his heart drops when police tell him no bullets or shell casings were found at the crime scene, and that the sound he heard was likely the window exploding as the boy was trying to escape. Cameron is destroyed. If the boy dies, he might never forgive himself. Monday, November 3rd. 12 hours after Elijah was abducted, agents have already interviewed every family member, friend, and co-worker. But still, police have no leads. Other family members join the search, printing missing posters and handing out flyers. Any kind of things you could find and pick up, his mother says, just to give us a clue to where he may be. If anybody knows anything about him, says Elijah's father, please get in contact with me, my wife, anybody. Authorities turn to the public for help, broadcasting the footage of the abduction on every news channel. You are watching the abductor, the kidnapper, forcibly take him. Right now, we're reaching out to the public for any assistance they can give us. The problem is, the quality of the footage makes it impossible to identify the man. A man they should know, because he's already the suspect in another abduction that took place just 1 month earlier. His name is Jerome Hadley, and he's an alleged serial killer. A 16-year-old Richmond boy narrowly escaped with his life. They said Hadley took him out back, stripped him naked, poured gasoline and bleach all over him, asked him how he wanted to die, and then started digging a grave. When the teenage boy miraculously escaped, he told police that Hadley had shown him pictures of his previous victims. He would hold them captive for 2 days before disposing of them. When the boy was sent to the hospital, police tried serving an arrest warrant on Hadley, but he was already gone. The clock is ticking before the same thing happens to Elijah. Tuesday, November 4th. 36 hours have passed. A $47,000 reward is announced, and finally, the tips start pouring in. We had a team of agents and task force officers reviewing all of the calls coming in. And then anything of merit, they sent it out to the agents that were on the field. Of the hundreds of calls that come in, one of them stands out. A woman says she found unusual debris on her property, but she's from Havre de Grace, Maryland, more than 70 miles from where Elijah was kidnapped. She calls and says, "I don't know if this is going to be of use to you all, but I have a farm, and there's some broken glass and some trash on my lawn." So they deploy agents out there to investigate. When agents arrive on site, they're stunned. Apart from the broken glass, they find candy wrappers, potato chip bags, a cut zip tie, a receipt, and an earring, all inside a single plastic bag. The evidence is too clean, almost like it was planted there for someone to find. But what catches their attention is that the receipt is from a supermarket back in Philadelphia. And the timestamp says 1:50 p.m., just hours before the abduction. So the agents on the ground immediately call and say, "Can you go there to see if there's any video that could help with this case?" The agents are hoping they can get a better image of their suspect. At 1:43 p.m., in walks a man wearing a black hat, a dark hoodie and pants, just like Elijah's abductor. He puts his hand up to his face, seemingly trying to hide his identity. The problem is, none of the camera angles gives them a clear view of his face. And while the footage is shared with the public, there's little chance it will help the investigation. But the FBI has worse news. Back at the farm in Maryland, Special Agent Warren Keene makes a disturbing discovery when they find car tracks that lead into a nearby body of water. We came to the conclusion that if somebody wanted to dispose of a body, they would dispose of it there. The FBI immediately sends out divers to search the entire Susquehanna River all through the night. They also have airplanes up, helicopters up, looking for heat signatures because they believe they would find a body. Elijah's body. It's November 4th, 9:40 p.m. 48 hours have passed since the abduction, and investigators are losing hope that they'll ever find Elijah alive. At the same moment, just over 30 miles away, Elijah is trapped inside the trunk of a moving car, wondering what's going to happen next. "I wanted to know if he was going to kill me, or if he was going to rape me, or both. He doesn't know if he'll ever be saved." But Elijah has been doing everything he can to leave clues behind for the police. His story starts on November 2nd, the day of the abduction. At around 9:30 p.m., Elijah is walking home from a birthday party, headed to a bus stop. "I can feel like there's another person, and it's dark at the time. So, being the only one on the street, and you feel a guy walking behind you, I got scared." He immediately walks across the street to feel comfortable. Elijah breathes a sigh of relief, thinking maybe he was worried for nothing. A few seconds later, a man walks up to him asking for directions. After Elijah helps him find his way, the man holds out his hand to thank him. I shook his hand. When I tried to let go, I realized at that point that he wasn't going to let my hand go. As he starts dragging him down the street, Elijah is overtaken by fear. No matter how hard he fights back, the man still manages to carry him to his car. But with everything that's happening, he still has the presence of mind to leave a clue behind. After watching so many movies, I realized the first thing they take from you is any way to call somebody. It was like, either take it with you and he can throw the phone out somewhere where no one will find it, or keep your phone over here where hopefully people that know you know this is something you rarely do, and they can find you. The man drags him back into his car and gets into the front seat. While his back is turned, Elijah rushes over to try and open the other door, but the child lock is on. Under his seat, he sees a hammer. I hit him with the hammer. He was holding his head. There was blood everywhere. and then I hit the window with the hammer. I thought I was safe. I was free. He turns around and pulls him back in. The man then starts the car and drives off. Elijah is trapped. He doesn't know what the man's intentions are, and he's terrified. As they drive out of Philadelphia, Elijah can see his whole world pass by. I can see my whole. I can see my job. It's like my life was passing before my eyes. The man then gets on Interstate 95 and heads south. Less than 30 minutes after the abduction, he gets off the highway and parks the car in a secluded area. This is where he will rape Elijah for what will be the first of many times. If you're moved by Elijah's story so far and want to see more real cases where justice fights through the darkness, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a single story. Your support helps these voices be heard. Tuesday, November 3rd. Elijah is locked in the trunk of a moving car when he feels it slowing down in a rugged area. When the man opens the trunk, he finds they're parked in a field far from any house or passing cars. It's still dark outside, and the man intends to sleep, but he's not about to let Elijah out of his sight. He was still touching me on top, or some part of him was still holding me. I feel like if I nudge or move or try, I just can't think of a way to really get out. As he's lying there in the dark, unable to sleep with a monster right next to him, the horrific events keep playing in his mind, and it's all too much to bear. He's thinking of giving up. Then he thinks of his grandmother, who took him in as a child and cared for him when his parents couldn't. His grandmother, who loves him so much and who would be heartbroken if she were to lose him. Elijah knows he must do everything he can to stay alive so he can see his grandmother again. 5:45 a.m. When the man finally wakes up, he asks Elijah to throw out the trash he has in the car. As he's standing beside the vehicle in the middle of an open field, the idea of running away immediately comes to mind. Maybe I could have ran and tried to get to some house, but then again, I didn't know what else he had in the car or what he was going to do if I ran. I just knew at this moment I was living, and I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize. But as he's stuffing the trash inside a plastic bag, he gets another idea. Among the empty chip bags and candy wrappers, he puts a handful of shattered glass from the floor of the car, the cut zip ties, and one of his earrings inside the bag. Just try to give them as much proof that I'm still here. 6 a.m. The man drives into the parking lot of a PNC bank. He asks Elijah for his card, and he quickly realizes this is a good thing. I just knew if I gave him my card number and gave him the information, then that might be helpful to know where I was next from the transaction. November 4th. 2 days since Elijah was kidnapped. The FBI gets notified that his card was used just 5 miles down the road from where the trash was found. When they view the footage from the ATM booth, the images show the same man from the supermarket walking in. Once again, the quality of the footage makes it impossible to see his face. However, there's one thing the footage tells detectives. Elijah must have been alive at the time it was recorded. He had to give him his PIN code so he could use the card. The agents on site get another idea. Is it possible the man spent some of his money nearby? They start with a convenience store less than a mile away. Finally, they hit pay dirt. We saw the same person that we believe to be in all the other camera angles. Now, the FBI has a face for their suspect, and the footage of him walking through the convenience store is aired across the country. But by the end of the day, they still haven't found the identity of their suspect. And after being held captive for more than 48 hours, Elijah is beginning to lose hope that he'll ever be found. I just felt like maybe this may be my end in life. On day 2, Elijah is no longer zip-tied, and the man leaves the backseat down while Elijah is in the trunk. As he's focused on driving, Elijah tries to engage him in conversation. I kept trying to talk to him and just try to figure out what was going on through his head, and he was willing to talk. I thought, let's try to get as much information out. He uses the training he had from working with high-risk patients at the hospital. Slowly, he disarms him and encourages him to open up. This is how he learns the man has a daughter, and how much he loves her, and good things like she's beautiful. I was hoping that I can bring the person he used to be back. But then Jerome Hadley starts talking about his other victims. He gives Elijah details of what he did to each of them. and he quickly understands he's dealing with a serial killer. November 5th, 3 days after the abduction, officials in Richmond, Virginia, see the footage on the news and finally identify the man as 37-year-old Jerome Hadley, a suspect in another kidnapping with a history of violent crimes. The news is horrifying. We were extremely nervous for Elijah's safety. We thought the worst. They need to act fast. A team is sent to Virginia, to Hadley's residence in Richmond. They interrogate his family, neighbors, ex-partners. One ex-wife confirms Hadley's car was in fact a gray Ford Taurus, the same vehicle that was seen driving off with Elijah. Agents quickly go around the city and locate the dealership where the car was purchased. By a stroke of luck, it just so happens the dealership had put a tracking device on Hadley's car. If a person who purchased a car there had bad credit, they would often put a GPS device on that vehicle to make sure if they didn't make their payments, the car company could find the car and repossess it. The dealership is able to pinpoint the exact location of the car. That's when they find out the vehicle is still in Maryland, in a town called Jessup. We had several teams surveilling the area to identify the vehicle. While every unit is being dispatched to the location, Hadley is making plans of his own. He said that we needed another car, because he was running out of license plates to switch. That day, Hadley is parked at a strip mall and plans to hijack another vehicle. It's 5:15 p.m. ATF Special Agent Colin Maris is one of the closest to Jessup, Maryland. With the description of the vehicle, he heads to a local strip mall parking lot. Searching the parking lot, I came across a gray Ford Taurus. From a distance, he can see there's a black garbage bag covering up a broken window. He knows it's the right vehicle, but they can't see anyone inside the car. We still didn't know if our victim was alive or not. The ATF agents on site are instructed to wait for backup before approaching the vehicle. Agent O'Loughlin had essentially decided that if that car starts to move, we're taking it. And then, oh God, he just came from the back seat. We automatically all sprung into action. Agents surround the vehicle in a hurry. While Jerome Hadley is sitting in the driver's seat, the agents point their guns at him and put him under arrest. He had no idea we were coming. He had no idea what was going on. Once I realized that Mr. Hadley was already in custody, and that my team had everything under control, I approached the vehicle. The agents then make their way to the rear door, but the window is blocked by the garbage bag. They still can't see if Elijah is inside the vehicle until finally they open the door. I could hear from the agent's cell phone in the background. "Oh my God, he's here." He asked me, "What is your name?" And I told him, "My name's Elijah. I'm the one you want." Elijah Monroe has been rescued. His abductor has been arrested. Once I realized that I was being rescued, I felt at peace, just very happy to know I'd be going home, to know that I'm going to live, to know I'm going to be safe. Elijah is taken to the hospital where finally, he's reunited with his grandmother. When they allowed me to walk into the room and Elijah saw me, it was too emotional for me. Now that he's safe in his grandmother's arms, Elijah is finally able to rest, knowing he fulfilled his promise. When news of his rescue is shared with the public, Cameron Bishop, the man who witnessed the abduction, can finally breathe a sigh of relief. And while he blames himself for not doing enough, others see him as a hero in this story. Cameron Bishop got a hero's welcome in City Council, credited with helping save the victim's life. When he learns about what Cameron did the night of his abduction, Elijah wants to reach out to express his gratitude. 1 year after the incident, they finally speak on the phone. It was so unreal. It was beautiful. Just like my grams, all over like. While he maintains that what he did was just the right thing to do, Cameron sees Elijah's rescue as a turning point from his troubled past life. Today, Cameron owns a boxing gym in North Philadelphia where he teaches young boys and women how to defend themselves. He says he wants to make sure that what happened to Elijah never happens again. As for Jerome Hadley, 3 days after he abducted Elijah Monroe, he's interrogated by federal agents. He confessed to abducting him, sexually assaulting him, and he confessed to everything. Hadley pleads guilty to 1 count of federal kidnapping and is sentenced to 35 years in prison. Because Because of Elijah, his reign of terror has finally come to an end. I'm still trying to deal with it, still have really bad nightmares. And, I get scared to even be in my house. But I just try to take one day at a time and just try to say, hey, this is your second chance. Today, Elijah is a father, and he embraces every moment with his son. Just watching him, he reminds me of what life is supposed to be, how happy and innocent and free you're supposed to feel. When he looks back at the events of 2014, Elijah says he's glad Hadley picked him instead of someone else. It was something that was meant to happen. God needed me to go through it because it was something that I can handle. I'm happy he chose me, because when I think about somebody else, I wouldn't want to put them through that. I'm still here, and I'm still living, and I get to still tell my story, and hopefully help somebody else. Elijah's story tells us that even when the odds are stacked against us, and things seem impossible, we must never give up. Elijah's survival isn't just a miracle. It's a reminder that courage can shine even in the darkest moments. If you believe stories like his deserve to be told, do your part, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're first to know when the next story drops. Thank you for watching.